Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It was a disappointing end to the season. We are joined again by our sister Abby, our Gryffindor Quidditch correspondent. Abby, that was pretty rough. Give us the lowdown.
Well, sports fans, it is Abby here with your post-game analysis. I'm reporting on all the highs and the lows, and let's be honest, it was just terrible. Here's the rundown of your Gryffindor-Ravenclaw match. Hope, promise, words to characterize our young team this season. Even with the talent and drive displayed all year, we were hopeless without our little lightning bolt. If watching this match wasn't painful enough, the realization Slytherin walks away victorious again is just crushing. Wood's team tried to compensate for Harry's absence, but little could be done when your replacement seeker is as useful as a hole in the head. Adding insult to injury, front and center, for my viewing pleasure, was old Sneaky Snaky's team troll Captain Flint, working his fellow housemates into a wild rumpus of celebration. To date, the least enjoyable thing I have ever endured. While we are all hoping, praying, wishing for a speedy recovery of our young seeker, it's hard not to wonder if his heroic actions were really worth the cost. Yes, I am aware of the dangerous and impressive things that Potter managed to squeeze out of himself. But wouldn't, Albus Dumbledore be at least just as qualified to save the day? Anyways, your final from the pitch, Gryffindor is steamrolled by Ravenclaw. No cup, no glory. Only a memory that can't be forgotten fast enough. Signing off and throwing it back to you guys.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast that must not be named. I am Luke.
I'm Melissa.
And we are here doing the final chapter of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, entitled The Man with Two Faces. This chapter is 21 pages, and it's 6.8% of this book. Melissa, take us away on our final executive summary.
Spoiler alert, the bad guy isn't Snape. It's Quirrell. Turns out Quirrell doesn't stutter. He tried to kill Harry during Quidditch, and Snape was doing the counter curse to save Harry. Mind blown, right? Quirrell also let the troll in on Halloween to try and steal the Sorcerer's Stone. The stone is hidden inside the Mirror of Erised, which Quirrell doesn't know how to use properly. So Harry tries to distract Quirrell with questions and finds out that Snape does hate him, but doesn't want him dead, which is good to know. Harry also learns that Quirrell has a master who's always with him, Lord Voldemort. Harry realizes that he has to want to get the stone before Quirrell, but first he hears a different voice coming from Quirrell, who finally takes off his turban, and lo and behold, Voldemort is attached to the back of Quirrell's head. Voldemort demands the stone from Harry, who then refuses, of course. Voldemort tries to bait Harry by saying that his parents begged to live, but Harry calls his bluff, and Voldemort admits his parents died bravely. First his dad and then his mom, who didn't need to die, but did it to protect Harry. Voldemort orders Quirrell to seize Harry, but when he does, Harry gets a massive scar ache, and Quirrell gets horrible blisters from touching Harry's skin. Harry, realizing what happened to Quirrell when their skin touched, did the only thing he could think of to save himself. He reached up and grabbed Quirrell's face. Harry hung onto Quirrell through his blinding scar pain as he hears Voldemort shouting, "Kill him!" and someone else calling his name. Then Harry blacked out. 3 days later, Harry finally woke up in the hospital wing while Dumbledore was visiting. After learning that the stone was safely destroyed, Harry asked about Nicholas Flamel, and Dumbledore told him that Flamel is prepared to move on since death is but the next great adventure. Harry learns that Voldemort escaped and left Quirrell to die. Harry wonders if Voldemort will continue trying to return to power, and Dumbledore says they might be able to delay him over and over again. Harry then asks why Voldemort wanted to kill him as a baby, but Dumbledore says he is too young to hear this yet. Harry also learns that Voldemort cannot touch his skin because of the protection of his mother's sacrifice of love, and that Dumbledore had his father's invisibility cloak and was the one who gave it to him on Christmas. Dumbledore tells Harry that Snape dislikes Harry because of his father when they were at school together, because Harry's dad saved Snape's life. Dumbledore also tells Harry that he was able to get the stone from the mirror because only someone who wanted to find it, but not use it, could get it. Later, Ron and Hermione visit Harry, and he catches them up on what had happened. He gets released from the hospital wing in time for the year-end feast, but not before Hagrid gives Harry a photo album full of pictures of his parents. At the feast, Slytherin seems to have won the house cup, but Dumbledore awards some last-minute points. 50 to Ron for the chess match, 50 to Hermione for solving the logic puzzle, and 60 points to Harry for courage, because no one really needs to hear more about the details. This means Gryffindor is tied with Slytherin, but then Dumbledore says, "It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends." And Neville gets 10 points and wins the cup for his house. Then it was time to go home. They traveled back to London with a reminder not to practice magic over the summer, and the Dursleys were waiting for Harry at the station.
All right, chapter's done. Book
Yay.
is done.
Yay!
Pretty good. Even in the final chapter, we have some new character introductions. We have a face-to-face meeting with Lord Voldemort himself.
Nice to meet you. Sort of. Really, just a face.
Yeah.
Just a face. Not a body or anything. He's just a face.
Face to literal face.
Yes.
And the other character that we met in this chapter is we have finally face-to-face met Madame Pomfrey.
Because our one new location this chapter was the hospital wing,
Correct.
where Madame Pomfrey rules.
Correct. I didn't see any magicabulary in this chapter.
I didn't either. I believe we already knew all those words.
Yep, I think we
Good
knew
job
them all.
knowing words.
Okay, good,
All
good,
right.
good work, us.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some of my in-depth analysis notes. My first one was, Quirrell let the troll in on Halloween. This explains how that troll got into Hogwarts to the point of that they're too dumb to let themselves in, but we still don't know which door he used.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like half of that mystery has been resolved.
Yeah, but we do know that there was somebody on the inside who is well versed in the castle and is very familiar with the whole goings on,
Right.
to help the troll get
Right. Dumbledore sent the cloak to Harry on the same night that the mirror happened to be in a random classroom. Obviously, Dumbledore set that up. Ron thinks he did it on purpose. I want to know what you think.
in. I have a hard time thinking that Dumbledore said, "I'm going to give Harry this cloak, and tonight he's going to be out wandering and go to this one specific classroom, which is apparently nowhere near his common room."
Right.
Like, I don't think he would expect Harry to go to the library, go almost get caught by Filch and Snape, and end up sprinting several floors down and ending up... No, that seems extreme. Did he set it up so that there was an option, that Harry would find it eventually? I don't think he set it for that night, definitely. I mean, that's just what
I don't know. I just find it very odd that he sort of, like, puppet masters there. It felt very similar, especially when Harry and Ron were saying, like, I think he sets us the opportunity in case we need some training. Like, for what? Like, did you expect them to go running down to the trapdoor room?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I find it odd.
I also think it seemed like that mirror had been there for a little bit. It didn't seem like it had just been moved in that day. Like we don't have any inkling on if
It's
it
possible.
had been there or if it was just moved there that night. We don't know.
And it was Christmas break at the time, so, like, it could have just been there because there weren't
right.
as
So
many kids around.
and it very easily could have just been in that classroom, which, if this is the case, come on, Dumbledore, he should have locked the door. I mean, come on.
Right.
That Dumbledore was still kind of working on that part of the obstacles. So
I've always
instead
thought
of-
that.
Instead of going all the way through all the traps and obstacle course and dealing with Fluffy and
Yep.
Like, just work on it in wherever you want. And
then put it later. Or I always
but the
looked
fact
at
that
it
it's
as,
sitting out is a little fishy.
I always looked at it as, since, I mean, now we know it was Quirrell who did all that. And I wonder if Dumbledore at that point had decided, oh, you know what? I maybe need one more thing. Like maybe the mirror wasn't initially part of the obstacle course, but he was like,
so like the
"Nah,
troll
I'm gonna need
and
one more
then
thing."
Snape's thing would have been the last.
Right.
And Dumbledore was just the setting everyone up to get
Yeah.
to that point. Just the
I do.
facilitator.
Or maybe he had something else and was like, I need something a little trickier.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Right. I wonder what kind of rumors the school came up with to explain what happened to Quirrell, because nobody really knows what happened, but, you know, rumor mills in schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious. Got any ideas of what they might have said about him?
Oh, I don't know. Because he dies, right?
Oh, yeah, he dies.
But we don't know if they know that. Right? I mean, we just know
I
that...
don't know. I would assume they know he's dead. I don't know if they know Harry had anything to necessarily do with it, except they know he's passed out for 3 days.
They know that Harry's passed out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that whole thing very odd, because they all know it had something to do with him, because when he walked into the Great Hall, there was like dead silent and then talking, but nobody's particularly angry at him.
And how much would the other students know about the Sorcerer's Stone? Like, hey, we've been hiding this thing all year, and now everyone is
Right.
completely okay with... Like, it's okay for everyone to know exactly
Right.
what was being... Like, yeah,
And,
where's
like,
that line?
And Hermione and Ron didn't even know what had happened in the room, and they were more likely to know anything than anybody else.
Yeah, it
I just-
definitely seems like Dumbledore should throw out some disinformation to cover up the overall
Maybe he
secrecy.
did, and we missed that.
Yeah.
So
maybe, yeah. And... yeah, maybe he does some retroactive, like, hey, let's kind of protect the story of what really happened, because Dumbledore knows,
oh yeah,
but he wants to make sure that Hogwarts can continue to be a secret, you know, a place that
true.
things can be held safe, and if people start realizing
Yeah.
what's
But I just
going
wonder
on.
if they think, like, if they know he died, or if like, oh yeah, he died. I heard he got attacked by, you know, some monster. Da da da. Oh
Right,
yeah,
the three-headed dog.
right.
Yeah,
I heard that a vampire got him, and his garlic turban didn't protect him. Da 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 da.
yeah. No, that's. I like the idea of Dumbledore throwing out disinformation stories to
Right.
facilitate that.
Ah, I see. Yes.
Like he's causing those rumor mill.
Well, wouldn't you? In the same such situation.
Yeah, I just I hadn't thought about it, but that's I like that idea.
All right. Poor Dumbledore always gets the gross Bertie Bott beans.
Yeah,
It's another reason why I don't eat them.
vomit and earwax,
Yeah, no, thank you.
classics.
And my last note is really those Weasley twins sending him a toilet seat. What a throwback to chapter 6.
The return of the toilet seat.
Yes.
That's a great one. That was one of our favorite lines
Yes,
early
it was.
on too.
Yes, it was. So I appreciate the throwback to the toilet seat.
Yeah, I had that noted as well. That was great. It just might not be hygienic.
No, it's probably not, but
That's
it's
why
funny.
that's why Madame Pomfrey wouldn't allow it into the hospital wing. So last chapter, Professor McGonagall says, "Professor Dumbledore will be back tomorrow," she said finally. "I don't know how you found out about the stone, but rest assured, no one can possibly steal it. It's too well protected." She's right. She would have been absolutely right. If they did nothing, Quirrell would not have gotten the stone from the mirror.
You don't think he would have figured it out?
No, absolutely not, because he had every intention of using it.
Ah,
He never would have gotten over that. Voldemort would never have gotten over that.
because they would never think like that.
Right.
So they just would have been stuck down
If
there.
he just would have, if Harry just would have trusted McGonagall and Dumbledore, fine. They just would have been like, "Oh, well, Dumbledore's back. I guess he's gonna go downstairs and take care of Quirrell and Voldemort." Okay.
We would
See you
never
next
know
year.
about that.
See you
though.
next year.
Right.
Right. It's just I don't know. Like it's kind of like sometimes.
Sometimes it's okay to listen to the adults and not do anything.
Yes. Yes. This is what I was a hard time dealing with last chapter.
Yes.
Was just trust him. We're talking about the greatest wizard
Like
in the world.
we get
Come on.
it. It's okay. Like you.
Just trust him. Like we're good at this. We're quite good at this. Sorry, I just had that. That's what
No,
I got upset
I'm-
last chapter about. It was like just like I get it. You're the hero. I know this. You're dealing with Dumbledore here. give
Right,
him
like,
a chance.
I get that the book is named after you. However, you're not the only capable person around here.
Yeah. So as they were down, right when Harry gets down there and is talking to Quirrell, Quirrell says, "Your friend Miss Granger accidentally knocked me over as she rushed to set fire to Snape at the Quidditch match." Who all knew that Hermione set fire to Snape, and why were there no repercussions? Like, if Quirrell clearly knew this, and he was knocked over, why didn't anybody else see this happening, and how did he know clearly? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay. What if?
okay, I'm in. I like the cap on. I got I see the thinking cap.
What if Quirrell was the only one who saw her? Because
Okay. That's
everybody
clearly
else
the way it
was
is.
okay. So picture yourself at this Quidditch match. Somebody knocks into you. You don't care because you're still watching the crazy boy flying off the broom. Unless you're the person trying to knock him off the broom, somebody knocks into you,
You would be
messing you up. You're
pretty
gonna watch that person.
noticeable as to why or what
You're gonna
just
say,
happened.
"Hey, who knocked me off? Oh, I see you. Oh, I see you setting fire to so and so."
Which again took about 30 seconds for him to for Snape
Right.
to realize.
But Quirrell may have been watching.
yeah, okay.
But how do you, as the only person who notices, how do you report that
Well,
without giving yourself away when
yeah,
you're, no offense, not that bright? Quirrell does not seem very capable. Because he fails a lot.
well, he fails going head to head against Dumbledore. Like
He failed to steal the stone. He
from
failed.
the Gringotts, which
He
again,
spent an
Dumbledore knew,
entire
apparently.
year trying to get into,
Get past Fluffy
to get
even
past all of the stuff in there that took those kids, what, an hour
really
and a half
figuring
to figure
as
it
they
out.
were there.
Right. Like,
Well, see, I think it was just the Fluffy one that he couldn't figure out, and
but
that was force
Norbert,
fed to the
and
trio.
Norbert came in what? January, February?
Yeah.
This is June. You figured out Fluffy 4 months ago? Still took you this long?
Yeah, we had classes to teach. Come on,
You really think Head Voldemort is going to let you get away with that?
Voldy
No.
head.
Voldy Head. Yeah. No, I think Quirrell,
So he wasn't able to do anything about it without being caught himself
he didn't think he could do anything about it without getting caught
because
himself.
he is not very
Yes.
okay. So Snape was trying to save Harry the whole time. He was trying to protect him,
So weird.
and so what do you think about that? You think Harry should have been jumping into hating Snape so much now? Like,
No, I mean, I'm torn because
Snape didn't
Like,
make it easy on himself.
he doesn't make it easy himself. He's not a very likable guy. And I get that he doesn't like Harry's dad. So I can see kind of holding that grudge. But at the end of the day, honestly, he's a teacher and he's going to make sure his students are safe. I mean, I think at this point, it seems like he'd do it for any of the kids who seemed singled out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just notices Harry more because he knew his dad. I don't know if he knows.
Yeah, and because Harry gets so much attention, it's hard to,
Also true.
you know what I mean. Which I
Right.
think we kind of talked about that too. But
The famous guy thing.
yeah, the famous guy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, to Harry, he felt singled out by Snape. And so, with our Harry limited perspective, all we see is Snape being a bad guy. It's hard to notice where Snape's really doing good.
Right. We
Because-
only see Snape from the point of view of Harry.
Right, which is corrupted into
Exactly. It's an
disliking
unreliable
Snape.
narrator.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, I think that's fair. And I think it was well hidden by J.K. throughout the story.
Yep.
So, getting the stone from the mirror. Pretty clever that you can only get it if you want to get the stone without using it. That's pretty super clever, right? Or
Maybe.
is it?
Explain.
So, and I might talk myself out of this a little bit, but why couldn't Voldemort just bring someone down there and tell them to get the stone? You know, say they get there. Say he tells Quirrell, we're going down here, whatever. They figured it all out.
Just get the stone.
Just get the stone. Don't let Quirrell know what it's for or what it can do. And maybe that's why, like, Quirrell might not be the right candidate for that.
Right.
But you could get something else, some other person down there and be like, get this stone, give it to me,
You could.
or you will die. And not tell them, hey, it'll give you all the riches in the world and
Yeah.
eternal life. Because they wouldn't want to use it. They would just want the stone.
To give to Voldemort.
Right. So,
Maybe.
you know, like how many rungs up the ladder does that, but not
I almost
use
feel
it
like
thing?
you're banking on the personality and thought process of
The person who's
Voldemort.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that, and that's why I was like, maybe I'll talk myself out of it because Quirrell doesn't want to use it for himself.
No, but he still wants to use it because
Yeah.
I would like my head back, please.
Yeah. So I
My
don't know.
concern about this super cleverness is, and it's more practical than that, I think. Where's the stone at when it's not in Harry's pocket? Like, is it
Is it actually in the mirror
yes.
somewhere,
Is
or
it held somewhere? How
some kind of interdimensional
right?
cross
Because
section?
the mirror is not what you see in the mirror is not tangible. Harry couldn't touch his family. He tried. So how does he get the tangible stone?
Okay, I'm gonna run with this one.
Okay, go.
What if? So it shows you your heart's desire, the mirror in general.
Yes.
What if it always? And this is completely impossible, but like, what if like
He says about the magical world.
right? What if like it always? If you realized that's what you wanted the most, but you wouldn't like take it out, like that's how you actually got it. I know I'm trying to work through this in my head, but like so like the stone, he wanted to get the stone but not use it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what if he could like want to get his family but not use them? Could he get that out of there?
No, I don't.
And that's what I'm saying. It's completely
Yeah.
impossible. But you see what I'm
Right.
saying? What if that's just the mirror's magic, not Dumbledore changing the mirror?
Just using the
Just
mirror in a
using the
very
mirror
different.
as the medium.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's that's completely far fetched. But it was just I had never thought about it like that. Where that's the actual mirror's magic. It does show your deepest heart's desire, which means you'll have a hard time never saying, okay, well, I want that, but I'll never use it or
Right.
whatever. Because if
Right.
you want it, and that's
and you want
what
it for
is.
a reason.
Right. So, like,
Really, it's more why do you want it? Because Harry wants it for a reason. He wants it not for himself. It's a
Yeah.
non-selfish reason. And think about your deepest. Let's go with this. Your deepest, darkest desires,
is
for the
by
most
nature
part, are
selfish.
yes, because they're your desires for you.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I don't think very many people could have gotten the stone.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Knowing what it is.
yes, there are very few people with that much strength of character.
And maybe that's a part of it too. Maybe you have to
Yes.
understand what it is that you're getting,
Yes.
which deters what I was saying earlier.
Yes. I always think this is I'm gonna completely relate it to a very different category. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies with Johnny Depp. The
Yeah.
second movie, Dead Man's Chest, has the compass.
Similar idea, yeah.
Only it's very different because they're always like, oh, is it the deepest desire? Like, nope, it's just whatever I want right now. Theirs is different. Like, this
yeah,
is
it's like
really
it's almost like the exact
yes. It still shows you what you
minimal
want,
version of this.
but it's more like what I want in the moment. And the mirror is what I want deep down in my soul.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay.
And only a guy with a saving people thing would want that desperately to have it and not use it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
Oh, I'm
while they were down there, Voldemort tries to manipulate Harry into believing that his parents begged for their lives.
yeah. Harry was having none of that.
Harry doesn't buy that at all. So what do you think? I mean, Harry doesn't really know what happened there. He has heard, voices
think-
and green flashing lights, but that's like it.
I think it's more of a little kid. You can't talk bad. My parents are,
Mm-hmm.
these wonderful people, and all he's ever heard about them, because he never heard anything about them from the Dursleys. All he's ever heard from them is how wonderful they were from people who knew them at Hogwarts and Hagrid. And nope, they wouldn't do that. Nope, not my parents. Even though they very well might have. And and right away Voldemort's like, yeah, you're right. They didn't. Which I kind
Yeah.
of question him. Really, you're going to give in that easily?
Yeah, come on, you
Come on,
bully.
stick with your story a little bit better.
Well, and the more you say a lie, the more people believe it.
Exactly. You should know that by now. Come on, Voldemort.
Come on. So let's talk about having a person living on the back of your head.
I get a lot of headaches. I can only imagine how bad that must be. Trying to sleep.
Yeah. What if he was a back sleeper? That's not going to work. You got to be a side sleeper.
You got to be a side sleeper. That's the only option.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's.
And teaching classes, that's not the right way to defend against this. You need to teach them, or
teach them wrong.
Yeah.
Why aren't you teaching them the wrong thing?
Or teach them how to do dark art. Like, is he
Clearly
secretly?
There's no teacher.
No.
Oversight.
No, none. There's no principal walkthroughs happening.
Right. There's no reviews.
No, I definitely think, I feel that whole plot twist is a little questionable once you go back and reread. You're like, how? I don't know.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yes.
So Voldemort can't touch Harry. That's pretty darn convenient.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, let me self-protect my hero by making him untouchable by the bad guy.
Literally untouchable.
Literally untouchable, yes.
Like, it's not even a joke to say.
No.
Harry is untouchable by the
No.
one person that wants him dead.
He's physically unable to be touched by.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't understand the purpose of that, other than, it's a good way for him to save himself without actually having to, attack him.
Mm-hmm. Do we know why?
Something about his mother's love. I gotta be honest. I have read this book I don't know how many times, and this book all by itself, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. So she...
A lot of open-ended.
Right. She died to protect him, and something about her love is powerful, and therefore
And
he's
Voldemort doesn't
protected.
understand that.
But that protects Harry, and that makes him untouchable. Physically untouchable. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I read it going, okay, and I just sort of breezed right over it because rushing to the end of the book.
Later.
Exactly. And then the second or third time I'm like, and by that point I'm like, okay, it just, and magic happened, and therefore,
so it seems like the most important tool that Harry, most important defensive tool Harry has against Voldemort. It's a little questionable on how it or why it works.
Right.
But it does enough to kill Quirrell.
Right. And nobody ever mentions again that Harry killed a guy.
Yeah. Ever. Yeah. Where's that oversight? Hermione can set teachers on fire, and Harry can kill people. So
great. What's next?
What's next? So the whole final, the end of school feast. Let's just give away the house cup and encourage students to risk their lives in things that they shouldn't even be meddling in.
Yes.
Moving forward, the next year, who's going to say that kids aren't going to start risking their lives for dumb stuff? Because in someone who isn't seeing what we're seeing, it looks like they're risking their lives for dumb stuff, until you find the whole story. But
nobody's going to know the whole story.
If it didn't, and if it didn't turn out this way, they'd have been like, "Well, that was dumb. Why'd you do that?" And
it's just dumb.
It's kind of like rewarding A while hoping for B. Make sure the incentives that you can say you're going to win the house cup for risking your life and saving the castle.
And the next thing
if there's no threat there, people are still going to be trying to do that. Right. It creates a problem.
Yep.
You reward the wrong thing.
Yes, and you're teaching, but you're teaching them that, hey, I'm going to reward these things. Therefore, more kids are going to do those things.
Exactly.
Yep. Setting them up.
Setting incentives is a very important thing.
Yep.
My last note of this book
dun, dun, dun.
is from the quote, "It was Uncle Vernon, still purple-faced, still mustached, still looking furious at the nerve of Harry carrying an owl in a cage in a station full of ordinary people." It just brings us full circle back to the Dursleys and how they're exactly the same.
Yep.
Except Harry is very changed, and everything that we've been through in this story, they have no idea on. They
probably don't care,
and they're still so worried about the most petty little things that they'll never understand. What Harry has done. He has done incredible
amazing things.
And he's just right back into the place where, once you go home from Hogwarts, you mean nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
Nothing you've done mattered. Yep.
And it's just an interesting dichotomy from the incredibly famous and hero Harry Potter back to, well, I hope your cupboard's still nice and warm for you.
Well, the smallest bedroom.
Yeah.
He did get moved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That was unreasonable of me to put that on the
Thank you.
Dursleys. I'll take that back. But
Everybody's
yeah,
favorite
it's
child
just an
abusers.
interesting way of bringing it back to that
I agree.
same. You haven't done anything in the
You've-
Dursleys' eyes.
Yep, and we're back to the Muggle world, and
Yeah, mundane.
yes.
So those were all of my notes. Let's get into your 5 burning questions.
So my first question, and I'm really noticing that this is almost like a whole book conversation we've been having because we finally know all of the pieces.
Mhm.
Why did Quirrell want to kill Harry early on in the book? Why was he targeting Harry at that Quidditch match? I can't reconcile what the purpose of that would have been.
How early on?
It was November, which was post-Halloween in the troll incident.
Right. It's not like he thinks that Harry's on the case of
Right.
getting the stone or even knowing what the stone was. I mean, is he just trying to off him for Voldemort? But like
It
Voldemort would have been
seem-
there to be like, no, that's mine, bro. Like, don't do that.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
find
it's-
it very curious that out of all of the plot points up until this point that lead up to us finding out that it was Quirrell.
Why would Quirrell specifically want Harry out of the picture
Exactly.
that early?
Yes.
Later on, fine. Like, there, yeah, okay.
Like, I get it during the match downstairs, but up until that point, Quirrell should have had no idea that Harry had any clue about any of this. There was nothing that I can remember, anyway, that singled out Harry as knowing about Quirrell's activities.
Yeah, not at all.
None. It makes it very curious that he would single out Harry in such a public forum.
Yeah. No, I've never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I mean, the only thing I could think is that since they were the ones who got the troll, and that was his troll, and ruined the distraction, maybe he was mad and was looking for a way to get back at them, and it was easier to get to Harry than to all three of them. I don't
Mhm.
know.
I don't know.
That's very public,
that is
especially when he has them in class. It
That's a very good question.
it seems very, like, unreasonable that he'd be doing that.
Yeah. Again, he's just not good at his job.
Also true.
Offing students.
All right. Next question. How did Snape know what Quirrell was up to? Like, how did Snape keep an eye on him? When Snape cornered him in the Forbidden Forest and said, I know what you're doing,
Mhm.
and all those things, how did Snape know? And did he not report it? Did he not try to get Quirrell fired? Like, what?
Mhm.
I don't
And
understand.
if he did report it, why doesn't Dumbledore step in?
Exactly. So what, and I know we don't really know. It's very interesting that
Yeah.
if Snape knew, and yet he still made it that far?
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, and why doesn't Snape show up in the trapdoor when
Right.
clearly
Right.
he knew
He
what
could have
the
stopped him.
trio was
And he
doing?
said, oh, don't do any more late night wanderings. How about you just go stop the bad guy?
Right, why don't
Instead
you
of trying to
do
put
something?
Unless, he is a Slytherin as opposed to a Gryffindor. Maybe he doesn't want to risk his own neck. He just wants to, protect the kids. He's not going to put himself out there to stop the bad guy. He's just going to make sure that the kids don't get hurt in the process.
Yeah, I
But
don't
again,
know.
that doesn't explain why he's not reporting it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. So when Harry has to lie about what he sees in the mirror, he says that he sees himself winning the Quidditch Cup, which is obviously a lie, and you can tell by the dialogue at the moment he's lying very, very poorly. Why doesn't he just say that he sees his family? That's what he saw before, so it's not technically a lie, and he can give lots of details because he saw it in the mirror before.
And stared at it for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
So I think here my thoughts on it are, it's a little too personal,
Maybe.
and he and Voldemort already have a very intensive family past, like with him killing his parents. and
Right.
he doesn't want to give Voldemort,
More reason.
well, more emotional power against Harry that yeah, you killed my parents, and they're the thing that I want most. Like, that's huge.
Okay.
Like,
You really think an 11-year-old's thinking that, though?
I'm not, but, so I think...
Maybe subconsciously.
Subconsciously, that's probably what he's trying to avoid,
Okay.
but he's not actively thinking that.
Okay.
I don't believe that. But, so he picks something, which is basically what Ron wanted,
True.
which is a lot more superficial and easy to pop off in a split
But
second.
it was really easy to catch as a lie.
Well, I mean, not really. All he does really want to win the Gorge Cup, but
Voldemort calls him out right away.
yeah, Voldemort is also incredibly intelligent, from what we can tell.
True. I'm just saying. I feel like there could have been a better answer.
Yeah, I think.
And granted, split second, you got to say something, but
Yeah, so
right.
the superficial answer is easier than saying, "Oh, I wish my whole family was here." That's what I see
right.
because you took them all from me. You
True, which
jerk.
it really could set Voldemort off and provoke him to want to hurt Harry, and Harry's trying to avoid that. And
So he's trying to get it off of, "Hey, let's be violent."
right, all right. Why won't Dumbledore tell Harry about Voldemort wanting to kill him as a baby? Because I don't like his answer.
That you're not old enough. That
You're
will
not
know.
old enough. I hate that answer. And I'm not saying I haven't used it a little bit with my children, but there's also things, and this is just my philosophy as a parent, that if my kids are old enough to ask, and they're not asking to be silly like they really are asking, I'm going to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not like the answer, and it might make them uncomfortable, and it might make me uncomfortable telling them. But if you really want to know,
Mm-hmm. If you want to step into the adult world,
right,
here's the key.
kind
up
of.
to you
And
to
I'm
use
not
it.
like saying about all, but
Yeah, you're not forcing it, but if they're gonna
no,
clearly
and I'm not
ask
giving
what's
like
behind
way
that door,
over information either. But
right. Yeah, I guess the metaphor I was like, if you're going to ask what's behind this door, here's a peep through the eye
I'm going
hole,
to give you
and
some
here's a key.
information.
If you want to keep going, we can discuss that. But I'm not going to say
Right, like I'm going to open the door.
I'm
We're
not
going
going
to
to say
talk
walk
about
away
it,
from the door,
and that's
which is what Dumbledore's do.
Dumbledore did.
I think I agree. That's kind of the neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I see three different ways of doing it. One, you do like you were saying, give them a little bit. Well, I guess there's four. There's one, you open the door wide open,
Right.
Say, go on in, have at it. Two, you kind of give them a taste of it and say, see where this goes. Three, you do what Dumbledore does, which is neutral, and you say, let's talk about it later. You just put it off.
Yeah,
And four, you just lie about it.
true.
He at least doesn't. He clearly says, I won't lie to you. I will put things off if I don't think we can talk. He at least gives him that up front. He says, I'll let you ask me questions.
I won't lie,
I
but I
won't
may
lie,
not answer.
But I may not answer.
Yes.
So he at least is clear on those being the stipulations, which I respect. I don't agree
I
with
do
it, but I
too.
respect it.
I guess I just think my oldest daughter has an anxiety disorder. And so I've kind of learned parenting her through the years that her biggest challenge is when she doesn't know something.
Mm-hmm.
That for her, sometimes information that you might think is she's too young for, ends up being better for her to know than letting her mind wander of what it
don't
could
let her
be.
start guessing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's when that anxiety piece takes over. And so,
and that's it makes
and
sense.
I think
absolutely.
that's just part of who I am as a parent because of who I am parenting.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think I've been influenced by this book and by that line of, why are you saying that? Why are you copping out of having a hard conversation just because he's a kid? Just because he's a kid doesn't mean that he can't handle it.
Yeah. The real answer is because J.K. wanted us to keep reading.
I know.
I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's big book-to-book cliffhanger, and
we'll get there. But
I mean,
honestly,
that's
though,
exactly
the
the
first time
answer,
I read this book, I didn't think of it as a cliffhanger. I just was like,
you just thought it was a cop-out?
no, it was more like, oh, okay, he's too young. We'll keep going. Because I was young. I mean, I was 21. I wasn't a parent, and I wasn't a teacher, and I wasn't in charge of the development of children. And I wasn't even a kid myself. Like, I was that weird in between, mini
Older
adult.
adolescent, younger adult.
Mini adult.
Younger
I'm a
adult.
mini adult.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, okay, he's too young. Because at that time, I had an 11-year-old brother. That was you. like, yeah, no, I wouldn't want, no, there's things he doesn't need to know yet. But the older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, 11's pretty old.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So kids, we're on your side.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just don't ask me, ask your parent.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like it was a push off to more books. I always felt,
Okay.
maybe because when I read it, book 2 had just
You
come
knew
out.
there was another book
I
coming.
knew there were more books.
I had read all 3 right up front. I literally read the first 3 books within a week. And so I guess I was just like, okay. And I just kept going because I just kept going. And then I forgot about it. Last question.
Last of this book.
Oh, here we go. At what point will Harry realize that he killed Quirrell?
It doesn't seem to be on his mind at all. Like,
No.
he's more of just, hey, we saved the day, and
Which is-
like what happened. Like he's more of like what happened and
Right.
catch me up to speed.
And did we
save the stone?
Yes, what I set out to accomplish, which I sort of see why, because 11-year-old kid who, I mean, is he credited for the murder of Quirrell, or is it you blame it on Voldemort for
putting him in that situation?
right? Like
it's almost like
I mean, it's not like Harry set out to do that, and it was very much a self-defense kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, it was absolutely self-defense.
Right. I'm just
But
wondering about the
still,
traumatic impact.
Is there victim's guilt? Anywhere in
Right.
there?
I mean, we have a kid who has had a very traumatic life, who his life is filled with trauma. He definitely responds to things very atypical from a kid who has not had as much trauma. He has been abused, he has been deprived, he has been shut off from the world, and I don't even know if it registers because his world is so traumatized from everything else he's been through.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just curious thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't know. You would think that's gonna be pretty heavy, if or when it hits.
It hits. If it hits.
Yeah, and maybe he feels completely justified that ends justifying the means on this one. Where
or maybe it's literally not registering that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
All
right, sorry, deep thoughts, kids.
Deep, real deep.
And we're going to move on. Let's talk about your favorite line.
Okay. My favorite line comes from that chit-chat with Dumbledore after Harry wakes up. And it starts with, "Destroyed," said Harry blankly, "but your friend Nicholas Flamel." "Oh, you know about Nicholas," said Dumbledore, sounding quite delighted. "You did do the thing properly, didn't you?" It's just nice that Dumbledore appreciates the effort that Harry did go through.
That they researched well.
It really is. They did in art. I've said it a couple times. A lot of unnecessary things.
Yes.
But if you're gonna do it right. Don't waste time and mess up. Make sure you have the information you need to do the right job. And they did the job properly, which I thought that was commendable.
Sounds good. Yep. All right, my favorite line, I had a hard time choosing a favorite line because I feel like there is a lot of good lines that happen in this. But there's one that stands out as sort of the overall message of the book, if you had to come up with a moral or a theme of the story. And it comes from Dumbledore's speech at the end of year banquet. It's when he has already awarded points to Hermione and Ron and Harry. And then he says,
He gives the tiebreaker points.
Yes, and the tiebreaker points come out, and here's why. He says, "It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends." And I think that's really important because sometimes you have to have, it's very hard to have a difficult conversation with your friends. You don't want to kind of rock the boat, but sometimes when you do, you can both learn and grow from it, and I think that definitely is what Neville did.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important, and it's a good message to have.
It is a good message, and it kind of comes down to the right thing is almost never the easy thing.
No,
there's a lot of times in life where it's hard to do the right thing.
It's very hard, especially when your friends may not be.
It's the people that are with you
Yes.
that you're going against or not going with
Right.
necessarily.
And I mean, think about it. Harry, Ron, and Hermione had each other.
Right.
Neville stood alone.
Right. And he was right again.
He was right.
Follow McGonagall. Been done. You'd have been fine.
Yep.
But yeah, Neville definitely did a good job on
Yep.
that.
All right. So who was your chapter MVP?
My honorable mention for this chapter is Dumbledore. He had a lot of good insight. You know, this is very quotable area of the book for him, as usual. He's usually good for one-liners. And he outside of the kind of copping out on giving Harry the answer, he was upfront with him and said, there are things that I can't tell you yet,
Okay.
but I'll let you ask anything and I won't lie to you. And I think that was well done by him.
Okay. My MVP was Neville. I feel like he finally got some recognition.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was huge for his person to be awarded those points and to be given the honor of being the one who won.
Mm-hmm.
Because
yeah, it's not like,
it's not
10
just your
go
points.
to Neville, and
Yes.
then here come the other three, and Harry gets the
winning
over the top
points.
point.
It wasn't.
He was the tiebreaker.
Neville was the one who won it. And I
Yeah.
think that was really important for him.
So I guess credit to Dumbledore as well for doing it that way.
Yes, but Neville's the one who got the points, so I'm
Right.
giving it to Neville.
I was just throwing more points
All right,
towards
fine.
Dumbledore.
All
But
right.
Neville definitely, I agree.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of chapter 17. But don't you worry, because we will be back when we do a full book recap where we talk about our ultimate favorite lines, the best characters of the book. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter at NotNamedPodcast. You can find us online at thepodcastthat.com, or you can email us with thepodcastthatmustnotbenamed@gmail.com. Thanks.